Hi, today we are going to address one of the core issues, and that issue, as you see, is how to have a sustainable economic growth by leveraging innovation as the key tool. So, is there a sure short way how you can nurture regional economic growth? This is an obvious challenge, for example, for the economic development boards, the enterprise or the entrepreneur development boards or entrepreneur development institutes as it's called in some region. I just gave you a few examples to illustrate why the regional based economic growth is important rather than just randomly starting some startup accelerator or incubator. Now, how do you go about nurturing innovation within your entrepreneurship? This is perhaps the single-minded goal that you need to keep in mind when addressing your regional growth as a key factor. Now, how do you foster innovation? Is there one way? No. There are several ways to do it, and probably in the ensuing discussions we'll address more specifically what are those multiple channels that you're going to leverage and take it through. Next key aspect is how do you identify what are the key sectors that you're going to focus and what are your thrust areas. A classic example I can give the state of Georgia within US. Now they have focused on the financial services. They have developed all the back-end financial processing companies, and as you name it, you have it. All the premier brands, they have their offices, significant presence within Atlanta or the vicinity in general in the state of Georgia. All right. So giving you further illustration, how to create innovation clusters. The Georgia, again taking back the same example, were successful in creating the financial services earlier. Now as the fintech sector is catching up, they have started several other fintech based companies, and even they are leveraging the latest blockchain and experimenting it with how well it fits into the fintech sector essentially. So as you see, it's a classic example how the innovation clusters are being nurtured on a specific technology track and then a subset of sub-technology domains, and then they want to achieve the world leadership status in that. So going one step forward, so in order to achieve the innovations in a particular sector, when I mentioned blockchain as an example, you need the innovation skills for people not to understand what is blockchain, how can I use it, what are bitcoins, is that having any bearing out on the innovation or more specifically on the blockchain. That's one other example. So how do we impart these life skills? How to get the blockchain experts and then get them addressed within the fintech sector or even in the healthcare sector. So you can be broad or narrower based on the different technology sectors that you plan to address within your region. And obviously you provision several tax incentives to different startups and incubators, accelerators alike. Then how do you manage the entire tax incentives? And basically that's a zero-sum game, in the sense initially you provide incentives, you track them, and low taxation is one such classic example. And how do you nurture the entire ecosystem and promote more job growth? And then, of course, identifying the potential partners who can collaborate with you so that you can go much faster into the market. So how I can combine with some of the premier institutes in terms of churning out and imparting the growth to the students. That's one such example. Or how do I take out the entrepreneurs, train them, repurpose them in a specific way, for example on the fintech sector, and then repurpose them for the higher goals that you have set in. That's one example. And how to essentially reduce your own risk by combining with others who are the experts and quickly going to the market. So the hope this gives you a very broad perspective of what we are talking, and in the ensuing discussions we'll further focus and drill down into each of these elements. Thank you guys.